Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, ET Now's special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. Here's what I have lined up on the show today. The first in our series of innovators and disruptors below 30, a special conversation with Pranav Pai. And on Bright Sparks tonight, we feature Wixo, an e-marketing company looking to change the face of the e-commerce industry, as well as Chumbak, the brand that was started with the need for high-quality Indian-themed knickknacks. So that's what we have in store for you tonight. Let's start off right away with our inside conversation. What are the pitfalls, if any, of starting out on your own too young? What advice would one young innovator have for others like himself? Tonight on our Inside Conversation, we bring you part one of our Under 30 Innovators and Disruptors. I'm featuring Pranav Pai, founding partner of 314 Capital. Take a listen. Thank you so much for joining us today, Pranav Pai, on the special series of Under 30 Achievers, Innovators and Disruptors. You're, of course, a young venture capitalist. How did you really decide to get into this space, and that too so early on?
Thanks, Nanda. So it was an interesting set of circumstances. I was at Stanford until 2013 for my master's, and I worked there for an early stage startup as employee number 2 at EdCast. And over the last 3 years, we've, as individuals and as a team, we've grown so much that we reached a stage where we dealt with almost all the challenges that early stage startups have to face, everything from funding to getting to product market fit. So having gone through that myself, and in parallel, we were also very aggressively investing in companies in India. When I came back, we decided that the best fit for us to start working together was in early stage investing. So we can actually put all our operational expertise to use in a good way and contribute back to the ecosystem.
Fair enough. I want to talk about mentoring. Just as important as it is, to find financing, I'm assuming finding the right mentor early on is as critical. What role did having a mentor play in helping you when you were, deciding to go out and set up your own venture fund? Did you have a mentor? And what advice would you have for the viewers of our show in terms of how to find a mentor early on?
That's a great question. For me, I think the two biggest influences in my life, one is, of course, my education. So I did my undergraduate studies in engineering in Bangalore. And that was the start of the whole online ecosystem and the online economy here. And having seen that grown and then gone to Stanford and being taught how to think broadly in terms of business models, in terms of technology roadmaps, and in terms of working with people, I think that's been a major influence in my life. And number two, as far as investing is concerned, my father happens to be my closest mentor right now. He's been a tremendous influence in both me and my brother Siddharth. Both of us are working at 314 together. And what he's taught us is, I think, the most important lesson. He's taught us many important lessons, but the most important lesson he taught us was how to separate relationships from transactions. So as an early stage venture capital fund, you're very likely to build very close relationships with the founders you fund, very close relationships with the teams that start with those founders very early on. But it's always a transaction at the end of it, right? So separating those two things have been critical.
You said something very interesting in terms of, separating the relationship from the transaction. We cater to the MSME community, and a lot of our viewers are a part of family-run businesses. What advice would you have then for, these entrepreneurs who write into us saying that possibly is proving to be a challenge when it comes to, say, raise funding, and also in terms of working together? Because like you're saying, of course, you have your brothers also involved in your venture capital fund. Your father plays a very crucial role as well as far as your venture capital fund goes.
That's another great question. So in our experience, we've seen that it's the best possible transactions and the best decisions are made when there are fewer emotions involved. It's possible to do that if you know that there are two paradigms of working with people, one through your relationships and one through the transaction. And if you're able to separate those and state very clearly and transparently what the terms and what the parameters for every decision really are, we found that really works. Whether it's a business that's family run, whether it's a fund that's a private capital fund, whether it's a fund with many investors and many stakeholders, we found that transparency is critical for solid decisions and good decisions, at least as far as possible, transparent decisions as well, to happen the right way.
So if there is one piece of advice that you give the companies that you invest into, what would that be?
I think, there are so many things to keep in mind, but the most important thing according to us is to completely understand your customer. Something that we use ourselves is how to separate those two things, the relationship and the transaction, and to put all your focus in making sure that at the end of a transaction, both sides or all the stakeholders involved feel like they've won. So for us, the most successful transactions are those through which everyone leaves the room happy. So we try to put as many of those paradigms into our companies as early as possible, and we found that results in very tangible things like partnerships, like co-investments. So this trend hits, investing, it hits early stage companies, it hits later stage companies, it hits how you set up your integration frameworks and your partnership APIs. It affects several different strains in early stage investing, and we found that really works if you apply the right way.
Pranay, let me, flip this around and understand from you what some of the biggest challenges, or rather one big challenge that you've had, as far as your own venture capital fund goes. And I primarily want to understand if your age and the fact that, you're so young, your team of founders as well, have had any pushback when it comes to the factor of your age.
The first thing is there is a certain bias towards experience, a bias towards a reputation. So if you've done it before, it's more likely that you will be heard out when you're talking about it again. And we've tried to counter that by doing as much research as we can, as much deep diving as we can into different themes, different trends, different patterns, and derive these insights that, once you communicate them clearly enough, the fact that you don't come from an experienced background in that particular space doesn't really matter anymore. The insight is more important. The principles behind the decisions, the investments, the founding of a company, those are more important. The second thing I think a lot of early stage companies face is in fundraising. There's a certain mentality that all of them run into at one point, where there's this imbalance between how fast you're growing versus how much money you're making. And there's always conflicting advice on what should be your number one priority. So what we help our early stage founders with is making sure that the metrics they're tracking reflect the principles and the hypotheses that they base their companies on.
You were talking of funding earlier. I wanted to talk about funding from the company's point of view. We have a call-in show here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and nearly 70 or 80% of all the queries that come in from MSMEs relates to how to raise finance, whether it's from the banks or whether it's from venture capital firms. What has been some of the advice that you gave? You were talking about advice earlier, but why is it proving to be challenging, at least from what the entrepreneurs give us to understand when it comes to funding this particular section of the market?
That's a good question again. I think one thing that many companies would benefit from is doing research on the pools of capital that they're approaching before they actually enter into a conversation. And this applies to banks as well. Now, banks are completely different from venture in the sense that you should try not to burn equity on things like working capital. I mean, basic things that any financial advisor would give you his or her advice on. The important thing there is to go to the right bank at the right time. So banks don't like doing first checks, of course they shouldn't. But when you go to a bank for working capital after you set up a responsible business, maybe with some venture funding, banks are very open to working with companies that are able to utilize the funds the right way. So I think it's just a matter of founder-fund fit, if you can put it that way. And the right funds are always looking for the right founders. I think if there's enough research on both sides, that's a straightforward enough problem to solve.
All right, as we're winding down this conversation, I want to understand from you, a lot of the money seems to still be going towards technology startups. Do you see that changing? Do you see more traditional manufacturing startups, for example, getting funding as well going forward?
Absolutely. I think there's a big story in India about niche brands coming out of India for Indian consumers. I think a lot of these brands are now realizing that price elasticity is a big weapon for them. If they were able to manufacture what they're selling, if they go lower down the stack, lower down the supply chain, and actually control the quality of the product, they're able to sell it better. So we're seeing, in many senses, we're seeing the Apple approach of vertical integration hitting early stage companies now. And I think that's a good thing because really, from a business model point of view, the more control you have over the quality of your product, about the quality of the raw materials you use, the more control therefore you have over what's going to sell, and you can actually use your research on the feed-forward side about what consumers want and affect that on your supply chain. If you're able to do all these things well, then the margins that you can command in the market are way higher. So that's a fundamental difference between making and selling your own goods versus being a marketplace and selling someone else's. So we think that while marketplaces have shown that there are certain things that work in India and there are some very big ones out there now, we're seeing that there's an inherent shift in manufacturing. I think that's a good thing. And with government incentives being what they are, with the focus on Make in India and Digital India, I think there's a confluence of factors that are making startups way more confident in entering manufacturing the right way.
Quick last word then at 314 cap. What are some of the emerging trends or the ideas or the problems that you see will be solved going forward?
That's a good question. That's basically what we do all day. The first big trend for us is job creation. We honestly think that some of the job data that's coming out, even from the RBI, it's pretty surprising. The estimates are anywhere from 500 to 700 million jobs needed by 2050. So it's important that we start investing in job creation, in skill development, in slightly more rigorous education, in continuing education right now, so that we're able to meet the demand in 15 to 25 years. So we think that that's an important trend for us. The second big trend for us, and I'll leave you with just two. According to us, like I said, the brand story is important. But going one step forward, we think it's going to be Indian companies that are better capable of solving Indian problems. And by Indian problems, I mean things like access to certain markets are still terrible in India. Things like access to water is still a big problem we need to solve. So while, like you said, while there's a bias towards technology, we think that there's going to be a convergence of business models that understand there are certain things that are more profitable or more valuable to solve first over others. And we'll see that technology won't be just the end product that you're selling, but technology will help you drive different products, and that will you'll end up selling a business innovation on top of technology. So that's something we're chasing aggressively as well, and we'll be doing a few investments behind this trend very soon.
Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we bring you up to speed with the story behind Wixo and Chumbak. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow on Bright Sparks Tonight. We're featuring two companies, Wixo as well as Chumbak. Let's start off with Wixo. It's no secret that e-commerce is growing at an unprecedented rate. But does e-marketing need an overhaul to cater to the marketing needs of this industry? Delhi-based enterprise automation suite Wixo has launched marketing services based on artificial intelligence. The company caters to marketing needs in real time while the customer is still browsing through e-commerce websites. Wixo has already got well-renowned brands as its customers and has registered an impressive revenue this fiscal year. Punita Verma takes a look.
The burgeoning e-commerce industry has led to the creation of several new ventures that cater to their essential business needs. In 2014, Wixo was launched with an aim to understand the consumer's marketing action and channelize that into results using artificial intelligence. Well, you have entered a completely different game of combining artificial intelligence with business. How did this idea shape up as a business venture?
So I think the idea came because ourselves being marketers from our previous organization, we were wanted to solve that challenge which we were facing. And we did not have any product that was solving these challenges. We actually went out to different other marketers and took their views as well. When we found 10 people willing to pay for this kind of product, we actually thought that this could become a business model that actually we can bet on.
Well, since you are one of the first few ventures who entered this domain of artificial intelligence combined with business, I'm pretty sure you must have faced a lot of challenges when you were trying to establish your credibility. What were these challenges and how did you overcome them?
So I think the major challenge that we faced was that we did not have any other product to look at which was similar to ours. We actually faced a lot of challenges in convincing people to use this kind of service, and being a startup, there are always challenges convincing with their data handling and what you're going to do with that. But at the end, when they looked at the results, our partners also were really happy with that we came up with this.
So how are SaaS services helping their businesses enhance their relevance to the customers that they cater to?
So I think SaaS businesses like us, we work on individual profiles. We want to do away with the idea of segmentation, and we are treating each individual as a segment. So while doing that, while doing behavioral segmentation, we are able to actually predict and see what each individual. So I think the brands are now looking at people behavioral analytics and using it to enhance how relevant they are and their content are to their to their audience.
Using technology to predict consumer behavior, Wixo converts the user data into predictive insights and suggests the best marketing action, helping brands to improve their conversion rate and helps them interact with their users in a completely different way. So how is SaaS industry growing in India? And do you think in some time to come there will be a situation wherein the companies will start integrating SaaS services as a business vertical, thereby posing a threat to you as a business automation vendor?
So SaaS industry is really thriving right now. There's a lot of heat in the marketing technology space, and I think SaaS industry is growing massively in the last couple of years. Having said that, obviously the big businesses have always integrated these concepts into their core business functions. But the best part about SaaS is its ability to vertically scale. And being a small business or a large business, SaaS can easily scale up and down in a matter of few minutes. And that's why as a business we are relevant to small businesses as well and large businesses as well.
So how are investors perceiving SaaS as an industry, and are you finding a lot of takers for your concept?
So SaaS, like I said, SaaS has recently gotten really a lot of heat from the investors as well, and it's a really hot market right now. So obviously now there are a lot of takers for our kind of business, but 3 years back when we actually started this, there were not a lot of takers. We've faced a lot of challenges convincing customers and investors alike that this is an actual business model that can scale up.
Well, do you feel that artificial intelligence-based services intrude a little too much into users' privacy? And do you think that this is likely to pose a threat to you as a business automation vendor in some time to come?
I think there has always been debate between privacy and ability to track users across various sites, apps, whatever. So I think it's important to have strict bylaws and to prevent cybercrime. But I don't see doing behavioral analytics as a challenge to privacy of any user.
With a list of 34 clients in their kitty, which include players from the conventional e-commerce sites to the non-conventional dating apps, Wixo truly believes that artificial intelligence is the future in order to build a smart relationship with your consumer.
Also on Bright Sparks tonight, we have a vibrant brand, one that started its journey nearly 5 years ago from just a corner kiosk in Bengaluru. Say hello to Chumbak. With its independent stores across 5 cities, Chumbak has attracted millions of customers. The company now aims to woo not only the domestic market but also go global with the launch of its home decor products. Paulumi Mukhopadhyay has a look.
They're colourful, they're fun, they have attracted over 1 million hearts. And now, they're ready to enter your home. Say hello to this one-of-a-kind indie brand Chumbak. What started as a corner kiosk in Bengaluru has now become the go-to fashion and home decor brand for many. Launched in 2010, Chumbak forayed into the Indian souvenir market with products like fridge magnets, keychains and mobile cases. Gradually, their product line started exhibiting items like shoes, apparels, bags, cushion covers, coffee mugs, amongst many. The latest launch of the crockery range flaunts various out-of-the-box and innovative designs. In the words of Chumbak's co-founder Shubhra Chadda, design is at core of Chumbak.
Shubhra, what is the thought process behind such vibrant colors, such bright patterns in your designs?
When it comes to, what is the thought that goes behind designing, there are a few things that we keep in mind. The number one is it has to be colorful, it has to make you smile, and it has to have an instant connect with our customers. So when you look at a product, the customer needs to connect or in some way react to it.
What kind of research goes into such detailed designs of your products?
One of the things when we first launched, we were coming straight from the heart, right? It was very much driven by gut. It was very much what we wanted to see. and that held us good for some time. Now after 6 years, we also have data to support this. So as creative as we are also a company that believes in data. So a lot of, you know, the future or the designs that we are going to launch are planned basis the past and what has worked in the past and what are the colors and how have people reacted to a certain pattern vis-a-vis another. So we do take all of that data and then plan our next release.
Chumbak has a distinct style. In less than 5 years, it has shaped itself into a one-stop shop for home decor requirements in major metros of India. The brand now displays items like beds, sofas, wall arts, kitchen cutlery, lampshades and various other lifestyle products. We caught up with Chumbak's co-founder Vivek Prabhakar to find how he designed such a durable business model for this company.
The company just started with selling magnets and now you have a vast portfolio starting from jewelry to apparel to home decor. Was this part of the expansion plans or you just went ahead with the customer demand?
I think so. These were pretty much decided from day one, saying that when Shubhra and I actually sat down and said what kind of brand would we like to build, very vaguely and not getting into actual details that we would do lighting and this, we always knew that stuff like, it was stuff that you and I would use kind of stuff. So we always knew that we wanted to do apparel, we always knew what we wanted to do, stuff like this. But honestly, the time when we did it was time when we had either the experience to do it or the money to do it, or when the brand could be able to do it.
How was the pricing decided for your products? Are you catering to the premium market only?
So I think pricing is something that we work pretty hard on trying to understand a whole bunch of stuff. One is how do you price the product is also determined by the kind of materials that you use, which starts off your base cost itself. And then you add on your overheads, your own margin and stuff like that. So it's typically premium priced, but it's not in the unaffordable price range kind of thing. Consumers never come back to us and say, listen, value is something that's not, I'm not getting value out of this. They say, hey, listen, I feel this is expensive, but hey, wait, let me save and come back to you.
Give us an idea about your expansion plans. How is it looking like with regards to the product lines, portfolios, expansion in the cities?
I think in terms of the product portfolio expansion, we're more or less done for the next year or two. It took us this time to understand, like as I said, the evolution of the product itself, to move from accessories and then to add on home and decor, and then now with apparel and fashion. I think we've kind of come to our comfort zone, and this is what Chumbak stands for today. In terms of stores and stuff like that, we're opening stores. We're opening close to about almost a store every 3 weeks. We're opening across the country, and this will continue. So I think close to about 20-22 stores will open this year, and at the same pace will continue for the next 3-4 years as well.
This strategic move from kiosks to stores might be more expensive, but it has created value for Chumbak. With over a dozen stores in 8 cities domestically, the company has been successful in raising Series A funding from Seed Fund India and Series B funding from Matrix Partners India.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Leaders of Tomorrow for tonight. We'd love to hear from you. Do email us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT or call us on the number on your screens. Thanks for watching.